My name is Randy Howell, and you're listening to the Faith and Fishing Podcast.
Welcome to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam.
And I'm Robert. In every episode, we're bringing you faith stories and fishing memories from some amazing members of the fishing community.
So join us as we shed a positive light on all things faith and fishing. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. I'm Cam, and Robert should be jumping on soon. But yeah, so at the moment I am flying solo. I don't have a ton of housekeeping stuff. I was hoping that Robert would be on so that we could go ahead and talk about the tournament that he fished last weekend out on Harris. I did not get to fish that one. Had a bunch of family stuff going on last weekend, but yeah, we did want to mention that wearing the right hat today. I've got a Savior Outdoors device that came in, and I'm going to be experimenting with some casting rods and putting that on there so that I can get it back if I drop it in the water. But I'm experimenting because it's a split grip rod, but I'm going to try it with the full handle version of the Savior, just because that's a little bit shorter than the split grip version, and it's wider at the top. And Cashin has a much wider epoxy base up at the top there. So we're gonna see how that goes, and I will let you know. And if I end up choosing to go the split grip route, I'll let y'all know that too. And then got some fun stuff coming from Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle to kind of get my kayak rigged up for the 2023 season. And then I will hopefully kind of give y'all a walkthrough of that at some point on social media, just so that y'all can see what I'm doing with my yak this year. But yeah, that is all I've got right now. I guess I should go ahead and say, just thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, we are up past the 8,000 download mark, so excited about that. And yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff on the horizon. Gonna be heading over to Tennessee in about a month to fish Dale Hollow with the Paddle and Fin guys. So excited about that. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna thank a couple sponsors, and then we're gonna get this week's guest introduced. I know y'all are excited because we've got a saltwater guy on. We're gonna be talking some speckled trout. So excited about that. So y'all stay tuned, and let's get it going. If a fly rod is your weapon of choice, check out Atolus. Their fly caddy is the most convenient way to get your favorite flies to the water, or just keep them handy by clipping it to your hat, truck visor, backpack, rod case, or just whatever. You can also bundle it up with flies from independent fly tires that Atolus has teamed up with through their Fly Light project. Choose from bundles specializing in redfish, carp, saltwater, or freshwater. Head over to atolus.co, that's ATOLLAS.co, to get your fly caddy today, and use promo code FAITHANDFISH15 to save 15% on your order. That's faith, the letter N, fish, the number 15 at checkout for 15% off.
Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle is one of the largest canoe, kayak, and cycling retailers in the Southeast, with a huge selection of kayaks, canoes, bikes, and all the accessories needed to experience paddling and cycling comfortably and safely. Get Outdoors helps to expand and educate the paddling community through their free demos held on local lakes in the Greensboro, North Carolina area, and through in-store clinics and on-the-water courses and demos. And we'll even get your new boat rigged up for kayak fishing for you. Stop by the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or check out shopgetoutdoors.com to be wowed by their selection.
All right, so like I said, we're going to be talking saltwater this episode. We're going to be going inshore. Now, something I've been trying to do for quite a while on the show is get a charter captain on to talk about what they do and all that good stuff. And whenever y'all heard us talking about it, whenever I went to the Cash and Rods Masterclass on the inshore saltwater fishing, I got to meet a few and got to have some cool conversation and learn a lot. So one of those is joining us tonight. He is the Speckled Specialist, Mr. Ricky Kellum. Ricky, man, welcome to the show, brother.
Man, I appreciate you having me, but I'm just glad I could talk enough to be here tonight. I've been a little under the weather.
Absolutely, and we are glad that you are feeling better. Man, go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell us who Ricky Kellum is.
All right. Well, the Speckled Specialist came about. My wife kind of put that name on me, and it's kind of stuck. It's just my favorite fish to fish for, and I've been chartering now going on 25 years right here out of New River, out of Jacksonville, North Carolina, right here, our Camp Lejeune military base. And I've been doing it for 25 years, just started off kind of slow, getting a charter or two a week. And now, man, I'm running probably up in the 250, 275 trips a year. It's bigger than I ever thought it would be, It's as much as you can do, 5. Try not to fish the weekends, never Sunday. I give Sunday to the Lord for a long time, and He's just blessed me for it. And man, it's just been a dream come true.
Absolutely, man. So, what was it that? How did you get your start in fishing, and then when was it that you decided that you were going to be that you wanted to do that for a living?
Man, that's a good question. I have a lot of young guys will ask me the same thing. They're trying to get started and just want to know, what route to take. And the first thing I tell them, I said, buddy, work hard and save a lot of money. But man, my dad, he was the speckled trout man, and I wish I'd have drug it in here, but he's got 11 pound, 10 ounces. That's his biggest trout he's ever caught. And I've caught one as long. I've got a 10-2, 31 inches, but his is 11-10. And he was just always known as the trout man. And us growing up as kids always tried to beat him every single time we'd go. All we want to do is beat Dad. But I don't know that I can remember a time that I ever did, because he wasn't one of those dads that would let you win sometimes to make you feel good. You were going to either beat him or you were going to lose. But and man, we once I got old enough to get a license and afford a little John boat, we started fishing some tournaments. And I'll never forget our very first tournament that me and my brother fished. We won it, and I actually had a 7 pound some odd ounce trout. And then the fever kind of struck, and we started fishing a lot of them right here local and had a lot of success. And just, the name kind of got out there. You start winning tournaments, people are going to start wondering what's going on. And we just had a good run. We fished this year, I think it was 28 years running the Swansboro tournament. We always called that kind of our Super Bowl because everybody fished it. And there was like 2 or 3 teams that had been there since the beginning that's fished all 28 of them. I think we missed like 1 or 2, but we've won like 13 of them. It was pretty cool. Look back, everybody's like, yeah, you won 13 of them. I said, yeah, look how many we lost. But the competition has really stepped up, man, from when I started. Used to, if you had a 75 horse motor, you had some power, but now you got to have, you got to run up in the 70s now to even be considered fast. And the fastest boat the fastest boat hardly ever wins, to be honest with you. I'm running a 22-foot Jones brother with a 115 that runs 30 36 miles an hour flat out, and a lot of times it's to our advantage to be in the back of the pack because people wonder where you're going, but they're not going to wait for you to find out,
Right.
But getting back where I think you asked kind of what got me started, Captain Jimmy Price, you mentioned Oak Island. That's where Captain Jimmy was from, was Oak Island. His Wildlife Bait and Tackle was the name of his tackle store, Captain Jimmy Price. Everybody knew him down that way, and he had kind of heard about me and got talking with him, and he found out, that I was pretty consistent on catching fish, and he asked me if I'd ever consider charter fishing. I said, well, man, I don't know. That's, at the time I was doing commercial refrigeration, heat and air, pretty good living, and Captain Jimmy said, if you'll take fishing as serious as you do your heat and air, you can make it happen. And, it's hard to tell the wife you're going to quit a good paying job to go try to fish and make a living. But the Lord works in mysterious ways. I went in for a safety meeting one day, and the owner of the company called us all together and said, boys, I sold the company. Been with them 15 years, and they give us like a 2-hour notice. So I went from having a real good job to no job. So started chartering, and man, it just took off from there. And that's been 25 years ago.
That's awesome. You mentioned that you have a lot of younger guys asking you. Something I'm curious about. I know it's definitely an advantage, but is it a necessity to have grown up on the water that you're chartering on?
Absolutely not. No, man. Especially with all the the information we have out there now, you can learn so much about a place and really never go there. Just with electronics like we got now, that's just like, if I go to a new area, which I'm sure you do the same thing. Any smart fisherman is going to go check the area out the best he can, on Google Earth, just checking maps. And man, I'll do a lot of investigating like that because this year I've probably done more traveling far as, still fishing for speckled trout, but I'm going almost to Virginia sometimes. I'll travel 2.5, 3 hours each way. And the fishing is that good. I want to be there. And we did a lot this year on the Pamlico, the Noose. Just the fishing was just so incredible this year. A lot, probably the most numbers of big fish I've seen in years on average. When you got to go, and about every tournament we fished this year, we've got a series that we fish. It's 5 or 6 tournaments, and you got it's the best average out of all of them that wins. And you had to have an average bag of 20 pounds, 4 fish to weigh 20 pounds. You're talking a citation average, but that's what you had to have to win this year. And me and my brother, we come in, we had like a 21, 22 pound bag. We were already counting the money. And a friend of mine had texted me, said, man, you got anything to beat 26 pounds? I said, no, and I don't expect to see it either. And sure enough, man, he had it. And I think we ended up like 3rd with that kind of bag, but that's how it's been.
Wow.
Been an awesome year.
Where does your season run? When does it start? When does it end?
Well, see, that's another thing that's crazy. We're just real fortunate down here, and I had to have this hip replacement last month, and it's just not a good time to have it because definitely didn't want it in the fall. Kind of the spring. Just kind of you just don't know, man, and we don't have. When I say this, people are going to be like, "Oh man, he's crazy," but we don't have an off season. We're trout year round, man. You're going to have, fall. Yeah, fall's probably October, November, December. That is prime time. But I had a friend today, he caught 5 citations, so it was pretty prime today. But you'll hear, everybody thinks the water temperature's got to be cold and this and that. But no, man, I some of my favorite fish is June, July, August, when you can't hardly stand to be out there because it's so hot. Them fish are just like us, man. They eat all the time.
Yeah.
But you just got, they eat all the time, but you got to figure out what that time is. You know what I mean?
That's
a
right.
lot of times in the summertime, if you miss that morning bite, you're not going to get another window until an hour before dark,
Right.
That's the deal with the summertime fishing is it's not going to be an all day thing like it can be in the fall when it's cold.
Yeah. So I know it got brought up a little bit at the Cashin masterclass, but I know night fishing can be big for trout. Is that something that you charter, or is that just something that you enjoy doing by yourself? That's your you time.
Well, no, I tell you what, the reason I used to night fish is because I had a real job and I worked 60 hours a week. So what I would do is usually the week of full moon, that's just prime nighttime fishing. The moon comes up about 9, and the tide where I fish at, tide is everything. I mean, that can just controls the bite. Oak Island, where you're talking about, is major there. Where I'm talking about is Sneed's Ferry, North Topsail. And the week of full moon, the actual night of full moon, the tide changes at midnight. I mean, straight up midnight starts out. And that's what we like where I fish because it falls out real slow. It's just an easy tide to fish versus incoming. It really rips. It's hard to fish. I mean, you can catch them, but there's nothing like falling tide. That bait's falling out of the river, and you're out there, and it's just as quiet. You can hear a pin drop, and then all of a sudden you hear sounds like somebody's dropping cinder blocks off the bridge. But it's them big schools of menhaden and shad coming through, and those fish just ambush them. And I used to go and fish from midnight till daylight. Fished a whole 6 hours of falling tide. And some nights the fish would move through the first hour. Some nights it would be the last hour. So, you had to stick it out. And, man, I can't tell you, my brother's got one. I had to beg him to go with me, but he's got a 9-pound, 8-ounce that he's caught at night with me. And my dad, which I've got him in my other room, he's got several, man. He's got that 11-10. He's got a 9-10. I got 2 10s. My brother's got a 9-8, and most of those come at night. It's just,
awesome.
Man, it's super, super peaceful out there. And I have run trips, but it's a different animal out there at night. If you've done any night fishing, it's not for novice. It's not where you want to take somebody that doesn't fish a lot because, it's just, you're going to spend more time getting their lines untangled and you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
So
we're mainly in the dark, we'll turn the light on enough to get tackle straight, but usually this light's out,
right. I mean, once you turn the light on, you got to wait another 10 minutes for your eyes to readjust and all that stuff.
We're fishing crystal clear water, so old trout, he's pretty spooky.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and not to mention like where you're fishing, the light's on for half a second, and you're blanketed in mosquitoes. So.
Oh, you're right. You're right about that. Now you want a little bit of a southwest breeze. You do. If it's still calm, you better have a net to put over your head.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Yeah.
So in a fishery like the one that you're in, where there's so many different things, Why trout?
Man, it's probably considered, I don't know, not one of the hardest fish to catch, but there's just something about a big trout that just drives people absolutely nuts. And it has me for years. That's kind of what probably what got me going into it. Just, ultimately trying to beat my dad, of course.
Right.
Then the tournaments, and then my wife had to give me the name, the Speckled Specialist. Imagine rolling up to a weigh-in and you got that on the side of your boat. You think you don't get heckled if you don't have some good fish. And
oh, I bet.
Usually we've got them sweating pretty good because we don't purposely come in last. At the weigh-in, we fish hard until the last second because you don't know when somebody's got something. I got so many friends out there trying to beat me every time, and I don't. To this day, I still don't like to lose. I'm 56 years old, and I'm still trying to win like I was 18. And we have come in. I'll have some buddies call and say, "Man, you haven't weighed in yet. What you got? We're waiting on you." And we'll pull up to the dock real slow, like we got what we need, and then just ease off. Never get out of the boat. Just go load the boat up and go home, because we won't have anything. But that's usually what we do on tournament day. We go to our big fish spots. It's either do or die. We're not going to try to catch a limit or no, we're going to win or nothing. And we do have spots like that. You'll fish 6 hours for 3 bites. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
But if you get those bites, it's the one you need,
Right. Those are the ones that the charter clients don't know anything about, right?
Yeah. And that's and a lot of it is just timing, about every tournament spot I've got, I've taken clients there. Now, maybe not prime time, because there's nothing worse than running a charter the day before a tournament and go to where you're going to fish. And I've done it. I had my brother, he's over to, he hadn't got over it to this day. I took a retired state trooper. We went and fished some areas and just could not catch any fish that day. I said, well, dog, I got to put this fella on something. I said, let me go check out my spot for tomorrow. Be nice to see a couple good fish come out of there. Man, 10 pound, 8 ounces. The guy caught one, state trooper. And that fish come to the surface. I was just hoping and praying it was a red, but it was a speckled trout. It was a 33-inch speckled trout. And I netted that thing, put him in the floor of the boat. And this state trooper now, I'm talking probably 30 plus years, a road trooper, so he's seen it all. He was shaking, just as nervous. He said, man, I haven't been that nervous since somebody was shooting at me. So I don't know about that. I had never been shot at, but yeah, I was glad he caught it. But, the next day during the tournament, here we are sitting there knowing that fish is in Lumberton, North Carolina, because the guy, he didn't release that one,
For sure.
But that'll mess you up. But yeah, it's the old big trout, man, is what keeps us going.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's dive into the faith side of things too for you. So, go ahead. What's your faith story? What is it that you believe in, and how did you come to believe that?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to back you up a little bit. My dad, my dad and his family owned the Piggly Wiggly supermarkets here in town. They had 3 supermarkets and probably 7 convenience stores. He had like 7 brothers. And I had the golliest grandma that ever lived, probably. So my dad and his brothers, they grew up, they knew about the Lord, and they knew, what to do in a time of need. But, everything gets going good in your life. Sometimes, God gets put on the back burner because, we don't need it when you got plenty of money and everything, health and all that's good. You just don't think about it a lot of times. And I was a senior in high school, just as lost as I could be. We went to church every now and then, nothing consistent. Easter, Christmas, typical just about what a lot of people do now. But my dad, he worked, 5 days a week, got 2 days off, and he was going fishing on those two. And one of them was Sunday. And that's when, if you wanted to be with Dad, you went fishing. So years passed, and here I am, a senior in high school, and I think Dad was 52, something like that, and got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And man, about probably the next day after his doctor's visit, he went straight to the church house and told the pastor that he needed to be saved. He needed the Lord to come into his life, and he just needed to be saved because he knew if he died without the Lord, he was going to hell. And man, from that day forward, it went from fishing to church. Fishing was like never even really mentioned. And he probably lasted a year after he was diagnosed before he passed away. But man, he went from, I'm talking about a diehard trout fisherman now, to, I remember to this day, rolled him into the church in a wheelchair. He couldn't hardly hold his head up. But he knew, that was his only hope, because that's the only hope we have when we pass from this earth, is the hope. Jesus Christ is our only hope. And I would love to tell you the next day after that I was saved, but man, it was probably 10 years, probably 15 years after that. I got married, still an unsaved man. My wife was a godly woman, raised by I had the greatest in-laws ever. And they, they went to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. And if I wanted to date what is my wife now, I had to go to church on Sundays. And my father-in-law was a state trooper, so, and he was an old school state trooper. I pulled up to his house. He ran my license plates right to start with. But man, I had two sons. My very first one, Rendell, he's 24 now, and I was home one day, and my wife just started letting me babysit, and he was maybe 2, just started walking. We just built a brand new house and done a lot of work myself, and put a brand new water heater in. It leaked from day one, just a drip, So I put a 5-gallon bucket under it. One of those things you're going to get to later. Was working out in the yard and got looking for my baby, just started walking. And I walk around the corner. He's head first in that 5-gallon bucket, legs shaking. I snatch him out of there, man. He's purple, not breathing. And you can imagine. Hits me right now hard, boy, but I take him out of that bucket. It's a praise, boy. I can't even talk about it, but I get it back breathing somehow, and the good Lord did. I don't know what I did. I'm sure I was beating on him, whatever I could do to get something going. And man, he spit up in my face, and that was a blessing right there. But I mean, you would think that right there would have been enough to make me turn to the Lord, but no, I didn't. That wasn't even enough. And a couple of years passed. I had my other son named Cameron, and
it's a great name.
Yeah, and he was born with tetralogy of Fallot, if you've ever heard that.
I have not.
If you hadn't ever, you don't ever want to hear a doctor tell you your boy's got tetralogy of Fallot. But basically what that is his whole heart was like piped backwards. Everything blood was pumping the wrong way. And doctor says he will never live to be a teenager. Here I am with a brand new baby boy, looks fine. And he said he's got to have open heart surgery. He'll never live to be a teenager without it. So 6 months old, we go to Greenville and, had it. And about everything that could go wrong went wrong. And he had seizures and strokes. And about 6 months later, we got home. And that's probably when the Lord opened my eyes right then. And I had a good old preacher at the church I'd go to whenever the trout weren't biting. I would make it there. And he caught me one day trying to slip out the back before he could make it to the door. And he knew a lot had been going on. He said, Ricky, have you ever asked the Lord into your life? I said, no, sir. He said, well, do you want to? I said, I sure do. And I think it was the next week. I got a pond down here by the house. And we went down there, man, and got baptized, and I remember coming out of that water now, leaving that old Ricky right there in the water, and that's basically, man, that's basically it. And I've not fished another Sunday since that day, and that's been 25 plus years ago. But it took a lot. It took a lot to open my eyes, but sometimes that's what it takes,
Yeah, man. Those are the stories that are difficult. I've got a little boy just turned 2, and so hearing those stories, those are the ones that really just hit me real hard right now.
Yes.
But yeah, man, what a powerful story. So both of your sons, you said your oldest is 24 now.
And I got everybody thinks, man, I bet your boys love to fish, don't they? I said, no. I had them hooked early, man, but I've got one in downtown New York City. He's my movie star. He went to Liberty University, and he's a theater major, and he's good at what he does. He sings, plays the piano. He's a great actor, but right now he's serving the Lord in the church up there. A whole lot rather than be there than on the big screen, that's for sure. But that's the only thing keeping him in New York City is his church. And my youngest one, Cameron, he's in Branson, Missouri, working up at Sight and Sound Theater, which is a Christian organization. And they just put on some awesome shows at that theater. And he works up there, loves it, just got in with a real good group of believers. And I mean, you can't ask for nothing else. I got 2 boys that's never caused a minute of trouble. I mean, from occasional stuff in school, but I'm talking about shoplifting, beating people up. You couldn't ask for nothing, man. That's all because of the Lord. We raised them the best we could, but us having good in-laws. But man, that church, we had them from. Well, they didn't want to be there. I remember them kicking and screaming in Sunday school and nursery, but I always tell the parents at church, the kids will be crying. I said, look, let them cry. They'll be fine. Next week, they won't be crying. I said, you got to be consistent, keep them coming. And man, you won't never be sorry for taking your youngest to church consistently now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
If you're going to give anybody any advice, that's what I give them. And I try to talk to all of them on the boat, man. I try to bring it all back to the Lord. And we just got back from youth class tonight at 8 o'clock. And we had about probably 18 kids there. But man, I've been working with the youth probably now over 25 years. I thought we were going to get out of it when my kids got out of it, but we've stayed right there with it, man. I enjoy it. But that's the difference maker, man. Everybody always wants to know what's the difference. I said, man, the Lord, that's the difference.
Heck yeah, man. And everybody who mentions that they are involved in youth ministry in any way, I always ask them, because I used to be a youth pastor, and so that's holds a special place in my heart. But what is your favorite age group to work with?
Oh, man, probably without a doubt. And it's a tough group now, but it's my favorite just because that was probably my favorite age is middle school, high school. We'll pick them up from 7th grade to 12th. And like this year, I have no outdoors guys. They're kind of all, I ain't gonna say nerds, but they're smart kids. The outdoor dumb kids like I was, I had those like 2 or 3 years ago. But the Lord puts all of them in your path, and I could just relate to those rough kids because they love to hunt, fish, and man, I could get them on the boat and really get to know them. And we just had one this Saturday. He just got married, and about 3 weeks ago had another one got married, man. And his kids that one of them is really involved in his church, and the other one I'm hoping the Lord will get him back in there. But man, that's my favorite age group, is that 7 to teenage, that 7 to 12th grade. The old teenagers now, it can be, I ain't got to tell you, you work with them, And we used to go to all the youth camps and deal with all the drama. You know what comes along with it.
Oh yeah. But I always get the shocked look from a lot of people whenever I say that middle school is by far my favorite to work with.
Oh,
I love that they're still malleable. They're still moldable. Those social boundaries haven't set in stone like with the high schoolers, where that's not a part of my friend group. I'm not going to interact with that person, kind of things. They're still a little bit more flexible in those kinds of things. But yeah, man. So there are a couple questions that we always ask all of our guests. So I'm gonna hit you with them real quick. What fishing story or memory means the most to you?
Oh man, I have got some incredibles, but probably just right off that really strikes is as I was telling you about, fishing for those 3 bites. Well, me and my brother's like the worst fishing charter ever. He gets on the boat, doesn't bring any tackle, no food, no drinks. He's ready to go. Tournament day, shows up ready. But he's basing everything on me being ready. You know what I mean? And that's because I don't want him to bring any, because all his stuff is junk. But we fish a tournament, and it never fails. You're going to kill them on Friday and go back Saturday and think you're going to do the same thing. Well, we go back to where I fished, and I already told him, I said, look, we're going to this spot and we're not moving. We're staying here all day regardless. And about 5 hours into the tournament, we hadn't had the first bite yet. And I'm hearing it, he's heckling. This is going to be the first year we don't do anything, man. You're going to let us down. Everybody's going to be upset. And it was probably 3:00, man. We ran an hour and a half from Swansboro all the way back to Jacksonville by water. Is an hour and a half each way. So, we know how long it takes to get back. Well, at 3:00, we got to be back at 5. It's 3:00. I get my first bite. It's like a 5-pounder. Good fish. Put him in the live well. 10 minutes later, another one, over 5. 3-fish tournament. And I'm like, Randy, we got 10 minutes, man. The anchor's got to be in the boat. We got to be gone in 10 minutes. Well, about 9 minutes, he's already pulling anchor up. I set the hook on one, comes up head shaking. Get him to the boat, and he's probably 7. Put that sucker in the boat, 3 bites, 3 fish, we're gone. And we get back right in the nick of time, win the tournament. Just one of them things, man, that just don't happen,
Yeah,
just,
man, that's awesome.
But I got just as many bad ones, so we won't talk about that.
Yeah, I love the buzzer beater stories, no matter what sport it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. So, go ahead.
What else you got?
All right. So whenever you're out fishing with somebody, what is your typical conversation centered around? What are you talking about?
If it's a charter, I'll use it, and it depends on. I'll tell you, how it is. You're dealing with the world. You don't know what you're gonna get. That's a good thing about charter. A lot of times, I'm seeing new faces 5 days a week. I got them trapped on the boat for 6 hours. So you can learn a lot about somebody in probably, 30 seconds. They get on the boat, they're cursing God every breath. It's going to be a challenging trip, and usually that takes me right. I go right to our youth group. I'll work it into the conversation, just to let them know, that hey, I go to church. I'm a believer. And they know, they may be lost and worldly, but they'll change their tone real quick. Most of the time, I've taken people back to the dock, not many, like twice in 25 years. It just didn't work out. I took them back to the dock, told them to have a good day, didn't charge them a dime. But yeah, most people, man, you start talking about the Lord, it's amazing how they'll change. But I try to that always gets brought into the mix. We're talking fishing too, but they're going to know where I stand before, the end of the day with no problem. And most of them already know, they're already checking you out on social media and all. But you got to be the same person, man, fishing, church, because how that youth group is. They want to know Mr. Ricky's consistent when they see him fishing at the grocery store, not just at church. You got to be the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're watching. If nobody else ain't, buddy, they're watching you.
Absolutely, man. All right. Well, with all of our guests, we also do a segment called "What's Your Favorite?" It's self-explanatory. I'm going to ask you your favorite in a few different categories, but we are going to get that started right after this. If finesse fishing is your comfort zone, something you want to learn better this year, or just something you like to tie on as a Hail Mary pass, Jade's Jigs has everything you need and more, and it's all eco-friendly and lead-free. With an awesome selection of baits and colors, they've got a variety of techniques covered for you. Finesse jigs, underspins, Nico weights, Ned rigs, and more are all waiting for you at jadesjigs.com. And while you're there, use promo code FNF10 for 10% off your purchase. That's jadesjigs.com and promo code FNF10 for 10% off. Few things ruin your day on the water as bad as losing gear. But with the retrieval devices for fishing rods, action cams, bow fishing bows, and more from Save Your Outdoors, you don't have to let dropping your stuff ruin your day because you can get it back. The pressure-sensitive filter keeps water from rain and quick dips in the water out, but it lets water in when your gear goes overboard to release a float attached to your gear by 60 feet of line so you can get it back. Go to SaveYourOutdoors.com to learn more and try some for yourself, and use promo code FNFP15 to save 15% on your order. That's SaveYourOutdoors.com and promo code FNFP15. All So we're going to get things started with, what is your favorite scripture?
Oh man, Matthew 4:19 is mine. Fishing for followers. That's kind of we had a little tournament, and I tell you, I might have to get you involved to come help me out. I'm gonna do a kind of a fishing seminar at our church, and it's going to be, it's going to be a fishing tournament, but it's going to be based on, I'm going to have, like an anchor. The anchor can be more than just for anchoring your boat. Talk about the wind, which way the wind blows, just what difference does it make, and who's the maker of the wind, and talk about lures. How we lure the fish, but the devil lures us. Just trying to do something different to to bring in. I got a lot of friends like you do that love to fish, but just for some reason they don't want to have nothing to do with the church, and just try to make it all make sense to them. But yeah, Matthew 4:19 just kind of mine. Fishing for followers.
Awesome. All right. What is your favorite Bible story?
Oh man. Man, that fiery furnace is hard to beat. That fiery furnace when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they just don't bow. They just don't give in. Just don't give in to the world, and that's kind of where we're at right now, man. And see, it's past time to stand up and be strong, but they were definitely it. Faith over everything.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I love that story, and I love their names.
Oh,
Shadrach,
yes,
Meshach, and Abednego. I love those.
Sir.
All right, man. What is these next few? I have a feeling I know the answers to them, but we'll see if I'm wrong. Usually I am, but we'll see. Your favorite fish to catch?
Probably a brim. No, I'm gonna tell you now. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to do it or not, but a snook. I went to Stuart, Florida, me and my wife, for our anniversary one year. I went with, matter of fact, got to be good friends with him, man. He was 70, like 72, 10 years ago when I went. He was still chartered as Captain Squeaky Kelly. That was his name, Squeaky. And he passed away about a week or two ago. But, man, top water snook fishing. If you can imagine, just imagine a largemouth exploding on a top water plug with the speed of a king mackerel. And that's what a snook's like. I told him, I said, man, I'd probably quit fishing for trout if I had snook around here. Because most of those in Florida, you can see them laying on the docks, and it's like they're daring you to cast your lure to them, because most of the time they're going to break you off if you're not really rigged up for them. My guide, he was using 30-pound braid, a medium heavy rod with like a 5,000 series reel, and the drag, you could barely pull it out with your hand, because when they get on, they're going to the docks, and you got to be able to turn them, and you're talking about 15, 20-pound fish with that kind of power and speed. And I'm in a kayak. So when you set the hook, they like turn your boat like right now. But probably a snook, man. I mean, a trout's right there, a tight second, but probably old snook for inshore.
I hear you. Yeah, I haven't gotten the chance to go after snook yet, but it's on the list of ones to go after. That's for sure.
Yes,
all
sir.
right. So snook is your favorite fish to catch. What's your favorite fish to fish for?
Favorite fish to fish for?
Yeah, what's your favorite to target?
I'll have to say, for me in my area is going to be a trout. Just, I don't know. There's just something about that trout, man. And people are sure crazy about it. And it's our most sought after. And we got a lot of talk about regulations right now, but that's a whole nother podcast. But
yes, it is.
But speckled trout, and these last few years have been as good as it gets. So I don't know where they're getting their data from, but anyway, speckled trouts. Well, he's number one on. I think he's right next with the red drum. I think the trout's the most sought after saltwater fish, in eastern North Carolina.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love for me with speckled trout, it's a lot like bass fishing, and it's more of a puzzle.
It is.
It's not as, I don't want to say easy, because I wouldn't say that I'm good at red fishing.
Oh yeah.
But it's a lot less straightforward. There's more of a puzzle to it. So yeah. I definitely get you there. All right. Your favorite fish to eat?
Oh man, probably a swordfish. That is, it reminded me, the first one I ever had was like the best, most tender pork chop you could ever eat. But the swordfish, I mean, I like my trout too, but those deep sea fish, man, grouper, swordfish, any of those. And I love fish. I could eat a spot or a croaker and be just as happy.
Absolutely. Yeah. In the eastern part of the state, whenever you get the real fresh seafood, absolutely. I mean, you really can't go wrong. I mean, the over here, if you're getting a hold of some crappie, you can or some bass, you can get some really good sandwiches, but nothing like pulling something from the ocean or from the sound.
Right. I guess.
All right. Well, now that we're hungry, what's your favorite fish and snack?
Do what?
Your favorite fish and snack?
Oh, well, that's kind of all my friends plus my brother, man. I'm gonna tell you now, if it's tournament day, the rule on the boat is unless the boat's moving, you're not eating. Most of the time, man, like one drink and maybe a pack of something. Man, when I'm fishing, it just don't. You know how fast time goes by when you're fishing anyway, especially in a tournament. Unless you got some real good fish early, if you're struggling all day, time's gonna fly.
Oh yeah.
So usually, I got, man, a ham and cheese sandwich, but it usually doesn't get eaten. I'm telling you, well, I got to start doing better too, because dehydration is a killer in the summertime.
Oh yeah,
man,
absolutely.
We go hard, but we don't eat unless the boat's moving.
I hear you. Yeah, I can be the same way. I've gotten better about it here more recently. I have to set an alarm on my phone and remind me to drink water, just because.
Oh yeah, you got
like
to.
You said, I'm in a kayak, and it's especially in the summertime when it's 90, 99 degrees or whatever, and 1,000% humidity.
Yes, sir. If you've never had kidney stones, take it from somebody that has. Dehydration is number one. Calls for it.
Absolutely. All right. So I don't need any GPS coordinates or secret spots or anything like that, but what's your favorite body of water to fish?
Man, I'm going to have to stick with home just because I know it like my backyard, but New River, I mean, I can pin it down for you because it's one of them places, if you're not there right time, it don't matter. But Sneed's Ferry Bridge in New River, you can check it out on your map, and you'll see where the river just funnels down real tight. And that's the place I was telling you I do all my night fishing. That's just where, well, every fish we've got mounted, we ain't got a bunch. We got like 6 trout. Dad wouldn't mount unless they were 8 pound or bigger, but every trout that we have mounted, it's got Sneeze Ferry Bridge on it. And to this day, man, since I was a kid, 6 years old, that's when I caught my first. Dad mounted my first 8 pounder. I was 6 years old, and I'll never forget that. But that was in 72, 1972. But yep, Sneeze Ferry Bridge, man. To this day, that's tournament day. That's first stop. You got to stop Sneeze Ferry Bridge. You don't dare go by that.
I hear you.
You'll get your heart broke because somebody's going to stop there.
That's right. All right. I don't want you to have to give away too many secrets, but I was there at the master class, so I know you're okay talking about it. But what's your favorite lure to throw?
Oh man, it kind of, you know how it is. It kind of depends on where you're at. But if I'm fishing the shallows in the river, like if I was going in the morning, I'd be throwing that big slick bait, that weedless slick bait up in the stumps, because the water's up in the high 60s, 70 degrees now. So the top water bite's really been good. I can narrow it down to 3 for you. And the slick bait would be number 1. Then, of course, you got to have a Zero Spook Junior top water. And then I got a little bitty 3-inch shrimp made by Betts called the Perfect Sinker. And I buy it clear, and I'll dip it either chartreuse or hot pink. You know, I'm fishing dark water. It's clear, but it's that dark clear, if that makes any sense. That river water. But man,
Yep.
Those 3 baits, and I'd probably pick that little shrimp over all of them, just because that thing is an assassin. it's a little bait, but I mean, I've caught a 9-pounder on it, and I can't tell you how many, 4 and 5s. It's just, it's one of them baits when they're being finicky. They'll turn down that big slick bait sometimes. They'll short strike it. But that little shrimp, man, if they're even thinking about eating, they'll bite that shrimp. And it drives people crazy, because it's a hard bait to fish. It's one of those baits you got to get confidence in it. But those are my 3.
I hear you. And one of the things I love about the saltwater community that gives them a little bit of an edge in this area over bass fishing, to me, is that y'all are absolutely okay throwing live bait. So what's your favorite live bait to throw?
Oh man, I'll tell you the best live bait, and then you'll know why it's my favorite. Man, a live shrimp is there is no substitute. You're going to hear different. Everybody's got an opinion, but man, I'm gonna tell you. And I'll take guys all the time. And look, I'd rather throw artificial. I mean, I love artificial, but I've got some places you can't catch them on artificial. And people are like, what do you mean I can't catch them there? I can catch them anywhere on artificial. Well, just imagine 40 foot of water, a lot of tide, and a lot of structure, and the zone being real tight. You know what I mean? I fish with a slip cork rig. I don't think I had them at this show, but I can set the depth, and I can float whatever depth I want. So, of course, you got to know the area, which that's where that bottom finder comes in. But the bottom there at Sneeze Ferry is just real nasty, rocky, just a lot of hangs, man. Anything that hits the bottom is gone. So we're suspended, floating a foot or 2 off the bottom. And just imagine floating at the best. Well, the Lord made a live shrimp for a reason, because it tastes good and because the trout loves them. And and I've done it. I used to be as hard headed as anybody, man. Matter of fact, I'll tell you, a green stingray grub's all my dad ever threw. So that's, all I figured I needed. I had some guys roll up on me one day. They said, "Man, we ain't from around here. Can you help us out? Tell us where to fish at?" I put them about 100 yards out of my way where I had never fished a day in my life. I said, "There's a great spot." And man, next thing I know, every rod on their boat's bent over. They had floats on every rod. I didn't know what they were doing. I ain't never seen floats out there. We're saltwater fishing. We ain't fishing for brim. And about an hour later, man, they come up to me and said, "Man, we appreciate you helping us out. You want some of these live shrimp?" I said, "No, man, tide's getting ready to get right. I'll catch them." Well, they had already caught a 4-man limit. That's when it was 10 a person. And I'm sitting there still throwing a green grub, didn't have a fish. I mean, you can take a live shrimp and you can make somebody a believer real quick. My brother, very first tournament, he threw artificial. I just started using live shrimp. He said, "Man, I'm going to use what we've been catching them on all of our life." I said, "Well, I'm going to throw these shrimp and see what all the hype's about." And before he could get his artificial off and a shrimp rig tied on, I had 3 winning fish in the boat. But you won't make any friends if you got a live shrimp and your neighbor don't. I'll just put it like that. That tournament I'm telling you about, 28 years running, it's been won one time on artificial. One time.
I hear you. All right. Well, I think we alluded to it earlier, but last but not least, what is your favorite time of year to fish?
Oh, man, anytime the good Lord wakes me up. No, man, you start getting October, November, but now that's probably some of the. If you talk to many people, that's what they're going to say. But no, May for my area, May, June, top water. There's just no better, man. My biggest fish come in May. That 10-2 I caught it in May. And, are you familiar with, you're familiar with the Mirror, the old 52 had 3 treble hooks on it.
Yeah.
Well, you know how far you can throw that thing.
Yeah.
You can probably throw it 50 yards easy with 10-pound test braid. Well, imagine throwing that thing. It hits the water. You jig it about twice. A 10-pound, 2-ounce, 31-inch trout comes up head shaking, tail walking, and it did that all the way to the boat, 50 yards on his tail, head shaking. It never went under the water. It shook all the way to the boat.
Wow.
I've never had another fish do that to this day. Yeah, and
awesome.
I was by myself in a little 14-foot low john boat. Yeah, but yeah, that's one of them things. Wouldn't nobody believe it if you told them, but
Right.
I could take you right to where it happened right now, and that's been 23 years ago.
That is awesome. All right, man. Well, we're going to start wrapping things up. If you would, I know you. It may be a little bit, but what do you have coming up next for you?
Oh, next for me?
Yes, sir. What's coming up?
Oh, man, I'm going to tell you what I got coming up. I got physical therapy in the morning at 11 o'clock. But no, we got, man, I've put everybody off for charter until the 1st of May. I'm going to be 5, probably 6 days a week, probably 2 trips a day for 3 or 4 months, man. It's going to be wide open this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if somebody does want to book the Speckled Specialist for a charter or follow you on social media or or just follow your adventures, how do they find you?
Yeah, just man, I'm Ricky Kellum, the Speckled Specialist. Instagram, Facebook, phone numbers 910-330-2745. Text me, and that's the best way. The calendar changes so much, man. If you just call, and we'll find a date and we'll go get them.
Absolutely. And I wanted to give you a chance to shout out any sponsors or supporters, anybody you wanted to say thank you to.
Oh man, yeah. I tell you, I hadn't got a bunch. I don't beat the bushes like I should, but man, I tell you, the ones I do have are loyal. Matt Cashin Rods. Matt's just a good godly man, and Rod's made in North Carolina, man. You love to support somebody like that. And I've got the Slick Baits. They're actually out of Gainesville, Florida. Real good people, man. Just good godly people. And I got Betts Tackle right there in Fuquay Varina, North Carolina. Don Betts has been with me since the beginning. Matter of fact, he's the one that he said he made that perfect sinker shrimp just for me, because I used a Storm back in the day, and he said, I'm going to make a shrimp that's going to be better than that, and I believe he has. But Don Betts, Wendell, and Zach there at Betts Tackle, man, I could call him anytime. I just hate asking them for anything, but they'll get mad if I don't, and they've just been great sponsors, man. Those three, and that's really it. But,
absolutely. And a huge thank you to Matt and Cashin for getting us connected.
Absolutely. Yes,
absolutely. Sir. So, well, Ricky, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. My listeners always enjoy getting a chance to hear saltwater talk. So I appreciate you coming up and talking speckled trout with us, brother.
Man, anytime, and I want you to get down here when you can.
Oh, absolutely. I'm chomping at the bit.
All right, I got a kayak.
That's awesome, brother. Well, again, thank you so much.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
A huge selection and crazy fast shipping is already enough to turn heads as an online tackle shop, but Omnia Fishing sets themselves apart with their ambassador program. With Omnia, you can send in fishing reports for your local lakes that recommend baits, structure, tactics, and gear. And when another angler takes your advice and purchases something from your report, you get credit for it to spend at Omnia. The best part means that with Omnia Fishing, you can shop by lake and purchase baits and gear that are proven to work where you're fishing. To get started, go to omniafishing.com and use promo code FNF15 to save 15% on your first order.
Mr. B Lure Company is making high-quality handcrafted lures and has been for 30 years, right here in the U.S. Using all-metal components, owner and gamakatsu hooks, and silicone or frog hair skirts, Mr. B is pumping out some awesome spinner baits, jigs, buzz baits, underspins, and more, including some of the most unique bladed jigs on the market. To fill up your tackle box, go to MrBLureCompany.com, that's MRBLureCompany.com, and use promo code FaithAndFishingPod1X10 at checkout to save 10% on your first order. That's Faith the letter N, Fish the letter N, P-O-D, so Faith and Fishing Pod, just like our Instagram handle, 1X10. All right. Another huge thank you to Ricky for coming on the show and sharing his story with us and talking speckled trout with us. If you want to follow along with him, I'm going to leave all of his links in the show notes. The All Things Faith and Fishing link will be in the show notes. So if you want to go grab some merch, if you want to go check out all of our sponsors and all that good stuff, make sure you go check that out. That's going to do it for this episode, except for I'm going to pray to close this out real quick. And then we will close it out. God, thank you for this podcast and this opportunity to share your love with just anglers of all walks of life, and to hear the stories that they have. Thank you for Ricky and what he means to so many people, and what he means to this fishing community. Thank you for the light that you shine through him as he goes and charters clients, and just goes and does youth ministry, and goes and just shines his light. Pray that you continue to heal him quickly and thoroughly, and pray that anyone who's listening to this right now, that they feel your love glowing in them, and that you are able to just kind of put on a show in their life. God, we love you, and it is in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. All right, that's going to do it for this episode, y'all. Y'all take care, and God bless. Thank you for listening to the Faith in Fishing podcast. Faith in Fishing is produced and hosted by Cam Steele and Robert Randolph, and is sponsored by Savior Outdoors, Jay's Jigs, Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle, Mr. B Lure Company, Atollas, and Omnia Fishing. Don't forget to join the Facebook community, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe, rate, and review us on whatever app you're listening on. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care, and God bless.